Controversial, but here it is in all its glory. ESPN AFC's World Cup Best 11. Truth be told, we weren't going to have Jules in this segment, but so angry was he by this 11 that we've got to have him in. Jules, what's your problem?
N'Golo Kanté. Where on earth is N'Golo Kanté?
Yes, I think that's a valid point,
fair.
isn't it?
Yeah, unanimous.
Yeah, is that unanimous?
Yes. Yes.
Kanté should be in there.
Thibaut
Who else?
Courtois for Pickford.
Yeah, Pickford's a weird one, isn't it?
I'd have Mandzukic instead of Lukaku.
Yeah?
I'd also find a place for Perisic. I thought Perisic changed the options at Croatia.
We can only have 11 players.
I know.
Let's just scrap the whole 11.
I'd take Coutinho out.
You'd have Coutinho out?
But then you also
you
need
got
N'Golo
Kanté in.
Kanté. So they got issues, all right?
No, I mean, you'd go along with most of those.
What about the defenders?
The defenders,
Meunier, would you have ahead of Trippier? Was he better?
No, I think Trippier had probably his best games that I've seen him play.
Right.
I think that's the right decision. Varane was excellent.
Technically, he wasn't a right back, was he?
No.
Trippier. So they found a way for him.
Maina, the centre-half,
Yeah.
he played a couple of good games, but I can't really remember him being absolutely outstanding. He played very well against,
he
very well against England, didn't he?
He's good from set pieces.
And who would have said Hernandez would have been in the team at the beginning of the tournament? He wasn't even going to get in the French side, was he? So he's done very well. But I was just saying to Brian, I don't think there's been an outstanding centre-forward in this tournament.
Right.
Lukaku played well at patches, Kane, Mandzukic. There hasn't been an outstanding centre-forward.
So Kanté should be in. That's pretty much the big takeaway from this segment. Indeed. Of course, you can always let us know your thoughts. You can tweet us at ESPN FC. Despite the fact the World Cup is over, we are still with you like a bad smell every day.
Another World Cup has come and gone, and Shaka Hislop and I are just not ready to let go. So we are counting down some of our best of the World Cup. We've got player, keeper, moment, goal, coach. Shaka, I'm going to give you mine first. We don't know what each other has chosen, and then we're going to give a little explanation. So best player for me, Luka Modric. I mean, that is kind of self-explanatory. The man, just with all the criticisms that he went through going back home, not the most loved man, surprisingly, back in Croatia, but he absolutely rallied a team that doesn't have the glitz and glams as some of the other teams do to make it to a World Cup final and possibly lose, or lose possibly to the best team that we saw. I'm going with Modric.
All right. I didn't have Modric, though I do understand the choice.
Who do you have?
I went with N'Golo Kanté.
Oh.
Players like Modric grab all the headlines, and understandably so, and given his performances, rightly so. Players like N'Golo Kanté are the kinds of players that World Cup winning teams are built on. I think you get a better appreciation for N'Golo Kanté when you're on the park next to him. As good as we think he is, looking in from our vantage point, I think if you're standing on that pitch, you appreciate him even more. Kanté, player of the tournament for me.
He didn't really have the best final, but it's okay. He is a.
He had a stomach bug. He wasn't well. He wasn't well.
I'm going with my boy Modric. Best.
Hold on, he wasn't much better either, by the way. Wait, hold on. He wasn't much better in the final either.
Okay, Shaka, we are moving on.
Right.
Best keeper now. I know that this one, of course, Shaka holds high because he's probably the best keeper I've met. But I'm going to go with Thibaut Courtois. We just spoke about him a little bit ago in our transfer rater, and he did a world of good for his rank at the World Cup. So, has to go for him.
I'll agree with you here. I thought Courtois was a standout performer all tournament long. Honourable mention goes to Subasic, beaten in the final, of course. But Courtois, outstanding from the first minute to the last in that third and fourth place game.
Now, here's where things get interesting. The best moment, because this is, very subjective. I've already gotten some flack for mine, believe it or not. But I'm going to go with Panama's first goal at their first ever World Cup against England. Sure, they were trailing 6-0 when they scored. Sure, it was a nasty game on their part and how they treated the England players. But what do you expect? This is a World Cup. If you can't beat them, which they realized, 6-0 down, then go for it. But it was such a moment. You saw what it meant to the Panamanian fans. I know what it feels like because Jamaica lost our first match against Croatia. But when Robbie Earle scored that goal back in '98, you couldn't tell me that we didn't win it.
I understand your pick. I don't understand the flack you're getting for it. Trinidad
They're mainly
Tobago,
from England fans.
Well, of course. Trinidad Tobago didn't even score a goal in 2006, so I understand why it meant as much to Panama as it did. At the same time, though, I went for Akinfeev saving the final penalty against Spain, Iago Aspas with his foot, the reaction of the players, Akinfeyev's face, the reaction from the crowd. That was to see a Russia team who I keep having to remind myself were the lowest ranked host coming into this tournament, upset Spain at this tournament in that manner, and you see what it meant to them. That is what will always make the World Cup special for me. Saying that, as was yours, these are the moments. It's not necessarily the title-winning goals or last-minute free kicks by Ronaldo, which also deserves honorable mention. Sometimes it's these little indescribables that make these tournaments as special as they are.
Yes, Felipe Baloy will definitely go down in Panamanian history for sure. Best goal now. Gosh, did we not have to choose from a lot. But I'm going to go with this one, Shaka. Benjamin Pavard with that goal that just defied physics. I was watching over goals and goals and goals, and just seeing that one from the angle at the back, I just had to say, put him down. This 22-year-old, special kid, special goal, and I don't think he's forgetting that one, or we are anytime soon.
I had to think about that one, but I went with Dries Mertens against Panama. Just as a skill, in terms of pure execution, I thought Dries Mertens was the best goal of the tournament. I think it doesn't get as much credit as it should because it was in the early stages of the tournament and it was against Panama. But just in terms of a pure strike, Mertens gets the nod for me.
And finally, best coach. Now here's where hopefully I've made up, you know, for all my England fans. But I'm going with Gareth Southgate. Believe it or not, one, I'm a massive fan of the waistcoat, Shaka Hislop. And two, when last has anybody felt positive about England? I don't even think English people felt positive about England apart from in this World Cup. And I think what he's done deserves more than a little pat on the back. I know I'll get flack for this as well, but Gareth Southgate, I would do the chant, but
I thought there was only two names on this list. Dalic and Deschamps.
Okay.
The two.
That was the
How do you take it?
That's the obvious pick.
Are we going for obvious or just out of left field Gareth Southgate?
I love me some Gareth Southgate.
No, he did a good job, but best coach of the World Cup? Best coach of the World Cup?
I didn't want to go for the two obvious picks, Shaka.
Why not?
That's why I went.
Why not?
Because it's two obvious picks. You say the two best coaches are the two coaches that got their team the furthest, which are obviously there. So
these were the two obvious picks?
Shaka.
This was an obvious pick?
No, it wasn't, because, you know, you could have...
It was an obvious pick. We both picked Courtois, he wins the goal. It was obvious.
You could have said Lloris if you didn't have that howler.
And that made this the obvious
All right, Shaka Hislop.
How do you get Southgate?
Thanks so much to Shaka.
He won the World Cup.
We'd love to hear
Dallas to Croatia, to the final, Croatia.
But make sure for everything recap.
Because he wore
we're not going to stop anytime.
a waistcoat. A waistcoat.
Jorge Sampaoli and Argentina have mutually parted ways. Shaka Hislop is here with me on this one because we kind of expected that this was going to happen after Argentina's tumultuous qualifying campaign for the World Cup, and then, of course, what happened actually at the World Cup. We knew that they needed to start rebuilding and doing something quick, Shaka. So was this the obvious step and a step in the right direction?
Yeah, this could have quite easily happened during the World Cup after that loss to Croatia. And it wouldn't have raised eyebrows in many regards. This is coming, you know, after what had been a disappointing end to Argentina's qualifying campaign in terms of performances, but they got in. A lot of help from Lionel Messi, and then a disastrous World Cup campaign, albeit to get out of the group stages. I think Argentina were a little bit lucky to do that, or certainly you expected a whole lot more from them. But
to lose to the eventual champions.
Yes, but still, you expected more of a fist. I mean, friend of mine who's an Argentina fan was pointing out that Argentina lost to the two finalists in their two losses so far this tournament. But you expected more. When you see that squad, when you have Lionel Messi, when you have the luxury of living Icardi at home, you expect more. And yes, we knew coming into this tournament that Argentina had their issues defensively. Yes, Sergio Romero was out of the squad, even though he had a lot to say about that exclusion during the course of the tournament, where he felt he would have been fit at least for the second game. You would have preferred to have Sergio Romero to call on in the final group stage game and indeed knockout stages. So Jorge Sampaoli has to shoulder a lot of the blame here. And as I said, had this happened after the Croatia loss, I don't think it would have surprised too many people. It happening now is a foregone conclusion.
All right, so where do they go from here now? Because we know that Peru's Gareca, he's out of a contract now at Peru. Word is that he is one of the favorites to take over. But how much rush should Argentina put on this to secure a coach now?
Well, Argentina have a lot of issues, right? And I'll get to those issues in a minute. But I think Gareca is a good choice. It's a safe choice. When you look at how Peru played, absorbed pressure, good on the counter-attack, and this is a Peru team that did not have, and probably in their history has not had the kind of talent to call on that Argentina does. Whether Lionel Messi stays on or not, this is still, will be a very talented Argentina team. Gareca took this, as soon as he took over Peru, got them to the semi-final of Copa America, took them up 36 spots in the FIFA rankings in the last 2 years. This is the kind of coach who will defend first, can organize an Argentina team well that this team needs. The issue being, and we've seen this time and time again, you cannot have a functioning team on the park with an FA that is as much of a shambles as the Argentinian FA has been. The two don't go hand in hand. Yeah. And yes, whoever is the Argentinian FA president and the administrators and all that don't cross the white line on the day. If your FA is as dysfunctional as the Argentinian FA has been for quite some time, it will invariably play itself out on the park, and that's what we saw.
All right, thanks so much to Shaka Hislop then for that one. If you remember our Facebook Live, Shaka got really passionate about Argentina, and he still is today. We'll see exactly if they manage to get all their stuff in order in time for the next World Cup, 4 years away from now. The World Cup is over, so Shaka Hislop and I have to find something else to entertain ourselves, and that is where transfer rate comes in.
How quickly you just brush the World Cup aside.
But the transfer window is heating up. So let's start off with Sillerson to Liverpool.
I don't like this. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I think Liverpool have the makings of a very good team. I think they need an outstanding goalkeeper. They need to splash the cash and get a big name in between the sticks. I'm sorry, I just don't think Sillerson is that. There are others out there who I think they'd be better served by. It will take some work in terms of dealing with agents. It will take a whole lot of money. But I think they're keepers they can get that will serve them well in the long term. A couple in the short term that may be more reasonable. I just don't see Sillerson as being the answer to that problem for Liverpool.
All right, well, speaking of a big name in between the sticks, Thibaut Courtois, it's hard to find bigger names than him. Yeah. He's definitely one of the top goalkeepers in the world today. He's been linked to the move to Real Madrid. He says it's a package deal with Eden Hazard, who's also constantly linked to Real Madrid. So does this just make sense all around?
This makes a whole lot of sense. Real Madrid, by all accounts, had shifted their attention to Thibaut Courtois after being frustrated in the transfer market and trying to get David De Gea. I think during the course of this World Cup, Courtois' stock has gone up, De Gea's gone down. This makes a whole lot of sense for me. This also ties in with this. Because if Courtois goes to Real Madrid, Keylor Navas is in play. And you know how highly I think of Keylor Navas. That is an answer I'd go for all day long in terms of filling that void for Liverpool.
All right, Karim Benzema, Shaka, where does he go? Would Napoli be a hit or miss for him?
Yes. Now, Benzema, we all saw that tweet he put out on social media, wherever it was. It seems like he's on his way out. Napoli, good run at Serie A last season, gave Juventus far more sleepless nights than they would have liked, but they're missing that out-and-out striker. Milik, who came in with strong record but had his injury concerns, didn't really get the kind of return up front that they would have liked, even in pushing Juventus all the way to the wire. This makes a whole lot of sense to me.
Moving on now, new manager coming in at Chelsea, so we can expect some new signings to happen. Milinkovic-Savic, is that one that you foresee being a hit? Or
young player who's, again, another player who did his stock the world of good during the course of this World Cup. This makes a whole lot of sense to me. Yes, I'll put that down as a hit.
And finally, Mina to Everton.
Yeah, Mina goes to Barcelona, doesn't see a whole lot of playing time. Has a mistake in him, I have to say, though it wasn't that on show during the course of this World Cup. Big, towering presence, physical, threat from set pieces. I think another one of those players that did his own stock the world of good during the course of this tournament. To Everton makes a whole lot of sense. I think there's a need, certainly for club. Mina, there's a need. Try to find a club because it's not getting any minutes at Barcelona. That makes sense to me.
All right, so quite a few hits for Shaka. We'll see indeed if they happen or not. Continue tracking all of these rumors to see if they do happen or not here at ESPNFC.com.
I'm not sure if Jules has slept for the last 24 hours, but, you know, okay, you just won the World Cup, Jules, haven't you? That looks like some party. I can't imagine anyone did any work in France today.
No, it was not officially bank holiday, but it felt very much like it. Everybody waiting for the French team to come back on French soil, basically, from the airport in Roissy when they landed this afternoon. There were people everywhere, on bridges, on the motorway, cars stopping on the motorway just to see the bus going through. And then, obviously, into Paris and down the Champs-Élysées. It was very special. It felt stronger. It felt more emotional than 20 years ago, maybe because 20 years ago was the first time, and this time, you know, the people who celebrated 20 years ago now have children. And it felt much more special, really, than 20 years ago. The first one is always more special, I guess. But this one, then, it looks like means more to French people than the one 20 years ago.
Jules, the scenes that we're showing now are just extraordinary. It's an interesting point you bring up, because inevitably there will be comparisons to 20 years ago. But you feel that this one is a little more special?
Yes, it's more special because I think it's a younger squad to start with, so you identify yourself, especially the younger generation, far more easily, if you want, to this squad than to the one in '98 where, you know, you had players at their peak. This squad is not even at its peak. I mean, you've got another easily 4, 5, 6 years to go for most of them, even more for Kylian Mbappe or Ousmane Dembele, who are even younger, to improve and get to their peak. So I think maybe the younger generation identified itself far more to this generation than the one 20 years ago. But it looks like this winning team are the children of 1998, if you want. And I think when 1998 was a big surprise, this time round we've been waiting for 20 years. And I think when you wait for so long and it finally happens, I think it gets the country really together.
What's kind of unique, Jules, with these celebrations as well is the access that we've had to them within social media. It's kind of the first real tournament that we've had this. And what happens with that, you kind of feel that the players are more likeable almost.
Yeah, you're right. And I think we saw that with other teams during this World Cup, especially maybe the England team. But with France, Deschamps was very clever. Before the tournament, he said to them, listen, I know you all love your social media, you all love Instagram and Snapchat and all of that. Let's not do too much at the beginning of the tournament. Let's see how we go. And then if we get better, and if we go from strength to strength, and if the confidence is high, and if we feel like there's something happening here, then maybe you can do a bit more, and then a bit more, and then a bit more. And then if we win it at some point, then you can share with the whole world and the whole country. And I think that's exactly what they did. And to see, for example, President Macron in the dressing room after the game, I'm not sure what Vladimir Putin and the Croatian First Minister were doing there with him, because clearly they didn't understand a word of French. But to see him and the players filming it and sharing it with the whole world what he said, because that was so emotional as well, because he talked for the French people. I think that was very special. And again, you're right, that's something that we didn't have 20 years ago.
Jules, what do you think with regards to Paul Pogba? Could this be the catalyst that we can see him put in the sort of performances he did for Juventus? Or could it be a point where it's saying, look, Mourinho, you've got to play me where I want to play, or else I'm going to go off, because, look, I've got a World Cup winners' medal?
I think it's a new Paul Pogba, and I don't think he will ever go back to the old Paul Pogba, the one who was dropped by Mourinho back in March, the one who had lost a bit of his game and a bit of his magic, really, through the season with United in the Premier League and in Europe. This Paul Pogba is a mature Paul Pogba. He's a more determined Paul Pogba. He's a more evolved Paul Pogba, if you want, one that has realised finally that it's not just good to do some tricks on the ball when you play in that position, that you also need to defend, that you have to play for your team, that you have to lead your team and lead by example. And sometimes the example is, well, to defend on Marwan Fellaini for 3/4 of a game, for example, because you know that's how your team is going to win that game. And I think before, this is something that maybe he had in mind but never really processed. And during this World Cup, we really see the Paul Pogba coming to age, and I don't think he will go back to what he had before.
I don't think Paul Pogba has ever lacked confidence. That's the one thing, one department that, regardless of his ups and downs, has never really wavered. I think what you saw from Paul Pogba, or my hope from that Paul Pogba takes away from this tournament, I kind of got the feeling that when things weren't going right for him in Manchester United under Jose Mourinho, he fell out of love with the game a little bit. I hope he takes from this tournament that you can do a job, you can be outside of your comfort zone, you can be more in tune with the needs of the team and still enjoy the game, still get results from it. And if that's what he gets out of this World Cup tournament, if that's what he gets from now being branded a World Cup champion, I think everybody, Manchester United and Pogba himself, will benefit.
As a midfield player, you have to judge the game very early on. What sort of game it's going to be. Can I show my skills? Can I take too many touches on the ball? Can I delay my next pass? Or do I have to play quickly? Do I have to play round the corner? Am I going to have to go with runners? What sort of game is it going to be? That's what good midfield players have to decide very early on in the game. It's not going to be the game where I can take too many touches. Today's got to be the game where I'm going to have to dig in. It's going to be a hard game for me. And that's what he did in this World Cup. He didn't always have sensational games. He did the right thing at the right time.
And you can do that and still enjoy the game.
Of course you can, yeah.
And that's the hope. That's my hope for Paul
Such a romantic.
No, I agree. I mean, for me, even early on in the group stages, you could see that Paul Pogba was still dwelling on the ball too long. He wanted to bring a second defender up on him and still show that he was strong enough to be able to hold off both and then try and make the pass or dribble through. As it went on, he understood as soon as he drew that second play over, he made the pass. Or he was able to just say, all right, I'm just going to touch it that far ahead of me and I'll still beat you to the ball and then make my pass.
And that decision has to come very early on in the game. As you as a centre-forward say, today they're dropping. I can't go and run in behind. I'm going to have to go short. I'm not going to beat the centre-half in the air, so I'm going to have to play a different side of my game. And that's what Paul Pogba has done in this tournament, and he's got to carry that on.
And understand that if they're putting a player on me or basically have him sit around me, know that I've got defensive duty. Let me free up my other midfielders to be able to make the game. And I think he did that a lot better as he went on. And you could see that Paul Pogba had a greater influence in the knockout stages and onward, not only with his passing ability, but with his understanding when to make the pass and when to actually dribble a little bit further.
He was also helped by a magnificent player in Conte.
Gosh,
I mean, he didn't play well yesterday because he had a stomach bug, but how he helped Pogba. Pogba could go and do the things that he wanted to do alongside Conte because Conte did all the dirty work. He was brilliant in this tournament.
I don't think many predicted this scene after the Champions League final, but Cristiano Ronaldo officially unveiled today as a Juventus player. There at the press conference for us, Paolo Bandini. Paolo explains what it was like as an occasion.
A huge occasion, obviously, here at Allianz Stadium. More journalists than were here even for the Champions League final press conferences, which gives you some idea of how big of a transfer this is for Juventus. And we all know the numbers now, 500,000 shirts sold even in the first day. And you definitely got that impression all over the city of Turin. I think in the little conversations you hear everywhere, actually one of the standout moments of today for me, bizarrely, has been waiting at a pedestrian crossing and hearing a little 80-something-year-old woman stood with her husband and lecturing him on the fact that surely now Gonzalo Higuain has to leave. But the press conference itself for me was undoubtedly the most fascinating moment. Ronaldo talking about the fact that he still has things he wants to prove in his career, and I thought he was a really interesting blend of bullishness, talking about the fact that he's still got plenty to offer as a footballer and has come to a club like Juventus because they can offer him things in return, but also a little bit of vulnerability. You know, he said outright, I'm 33, not 23, which, given it was only a couple of months ago, he was saying the exact opposite in Madrid, saying I've done these biological tests and they show I'm 10 years younger than my real age. I thought that was a huge statement and something really intriguing to betray that he is, despite what we think of him, still a human, still someone who has his struggles as well. But we're off to I think already a huge start here in Turin in terms of the interest, and it's only going to get bigger from here.
500,000 shirts in the first day. It says it all. It says it all about Cristiano Ronaldo and the power that he still has, and what really a coup this is for Juventus, surely.
Yeah, it is. Once you see all the numbers and see how it all stacks up, without question, you get your return just in commercial value that Cristiano Ronaldo brings. Ultimately, though, he will be judged not on shirt sales, and it's how he improves this Juventus team in European football. Let's remember, Juve are 7 times defending Serie A champions. But it does speak to breathing a new sense of belief into this team, at the very least, in terms of how they're perceived and their chances in the Champions League this season.
What do you make of this signing overall, Brian?
I think Paulo touched on it a little bit. I think Cristiano understands that the pace of Italian soccer football is a lot slower. And so, you know, you can see him understand that he's probably not going to have to do as much work. Not that he did a ton of work defensively for Real Madrid, but certainly they play at a little bit quicker pace. I'm not saying he can't do it, and I'm not saying his body can't, but I'm sure that had to play a little bit of factor. The question mark now is you're going to see a total different style of play in Italy. Is he going to be able to find the space in behind that he found at Real Madrid a lot of times? Because most Spanish teams love to play and come out.
Yep.
Even though when they lose it, they'll defend, they still don't defend as deep as some Italian clubs. And so seeing the way he's going to break down Italian defenses, I'm actually intrigued more by that than to say, okay, he's going to a team that's already dominant in Italy. I want to see him actually put up the numbers that, if he puts up the same numbers he put in Spain up in Italy, that might be more impressive.
That is a high bar, though, that he has set. Will he be able to? Will he be able to do the things that Brian said?
He'll be able to do it in Serie A because, despite what Brian was saying, the game is much quicker now in Serie A. It's not as slow as it used to be. They don't defend quite as deep as they used to do. But he's now a box player. He doesn't really want to run in behind. He wants to get balls into the box. They've got 2 wide players in Douglas Costa. They've got Cuadrado on the other side. If they get enough crosses into the box, he's a brilliant header of the ball. Now, he finds space in the box. He works defenders. He's become a magnificent box player. And if you're playing for a dominant team like Juventus, they're going to get lots of crosses into the box from him, even on the diagonal, which he likes to run. The big question mark, can he take them to the next level in the Champions League?
Yeah.
Because they've lost 1 or 2 players. They've lost some of their senior players. They're trying to buy younger players to go with Cristiano Ronaldo. What will they do with Higuain? There's a lot of ifs and buts, but he will be a success, at least for 2 years in Serie A.
Welcome into Extra Time. Robbo brought up Xhaka's story again of having a Maserati with the number plate Xhaka on the
Every
back.
single time he's here, he brings up that same
Can you
story.
believe Xhaka has got a personalised
And every
number?
single time the story gets a bit better.
I can't believe you had a personalised number.
You know the story is true,
Hold
Shaq.
on a sec, he just said better. So you like it better as it
No.
goes?
I mean, he embellishes more.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Because he said better.
I'll be
You were
flying a
a
helicopter.
poser in those days, weren't you?
Two more visits, I'll be in a helicopter. You watch.
No, I heard Maserati with Xhaka on the back. He come out full kit, goalie gloves, the whole shot.
And this is to his kids' school. Yeah,
pick up the
there's all
kid.
the yummy mummies
Did he
coming
have
past.
autograph cards? Here's an autograph for
Yeah.
you. Here's an autograph for you.
Embarrassing. Embarrassing it was.
What were you doing there, Robert? Were you teaching?
No, I was just picking up the kids. I stayed in my car. I had a Nissan Bluebird, I think, at the time. He had the Maserati. Doesn't have the same sort of effect.
Wow.
Don't look at me, Dad.
I can't believe you got a personalised number for
Shaq.
Shaq.
I mean, that's
unused.
embarrassing.
That was, you know.
This always reminds me that Robbie Mustoe had a Maserati. Now that is a weird
Oh,
combination.
yeah, that don't add up. That don't add up.
Julian is here.
Hey, Julian's
Julian,
here.
you-
Hey, Julian.
Do you have a Maserati, Julian? A personalised number plate? World Cup winners?
No, no.
Oh, he
Sorry,
will.
no, not
He
yet.
will
But
after-
I've
he
just
will
won the
after
World
this
Cup,
World
so
Cup.
yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is Mbappe
Yeah,
the real
too
king?
right.
Is Mbappe the real king of PSG?
Oh, that's a good one. By the way, Kylian Mbappe doesn't have his driving license, so he can't even have the same Maserati as Xhaka because he can't drive. As simple as
I'll
that.
come pick him up.
done.
I'll come pick him up. Drive around Paris for a bit.
You can come pick him up. Is he the king of PSG? I'm not sure yet, but it will be a very, very interesting season with a new manager and see the momentum that Mbappe has coming into the new season and the lack of momentum that Neymar has coming into the new season. It'll be very, very interesting for sure.
Jules, if we say it had 100 kids lined up, who would they go to first, Neymar or Mbappe for PSG supporters?
Oh, Mbappe for sure now.
Really?
He's gone beyond that. You know, yeah, he has gone beyond.
Isn't this weird, Jules? Because Neymar wanted to leave Barcelona to get out of the shadow of Messi. Now he's in the shadow of Mbappe.
That's, you know, karma. Karma, they say he got injured on February the 25th. After that, we didn't see him at all until the World Cup. And he was supposed to be his World Cup, and his Brazil team was so good and so strong and this and that. And in the end, the name that coming out of this World Cup is Kylian Mbappe, not Neymar Jr.
Do you want to say anything on this, boys, or can I ask Jules another question?
Go on.
Mbappe is king.
Yeah.
Ask Jules another question.
Can the 2018 Le Bleu beat the 1998 Le Bleu?
But now?
That's a great one. You know, Zinedine Zidane still hasn't said anything about this World Cup win, 2018 one. No congratulations. Yeah, nothing.
Why?
Really strange. Really, really strange. Really strange. I don't know. Maybe
Maybe he's
on
someone with
holiday,
no
so
internet.
maybe he's just
See, Shaq
yeah,
is-
maybe he's
Shaq is
disconnected.
That's-
But
he's on holiday.
it would be a bit disconnected.
No internet.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
He's having a detox, social media detox.
Too right.
It's like Robbo and his Snapchat. Always on Snapchat.
Oh, I love
Always.
Snapchat. yeah.
Unbelievable.
I wanted to ask Jules a question about the manager because
Snapping,
before the
snapping
tournament,
about Maseratis.
before the tournament started,
loves a
Jules
Snapchat.
said,
I'm not doing the dog again with you. Put your tongue away.
Jules said at the beginning of the tournament, right players, wrong manager. Oh. Has the manager redeemed himself in Jules' eyes?
Look at this.
Yes, my friend, he has. It's still not my cup of tea. I still think that with the players he has, France could play a more attractive style of football. But in fairness, he found the right formula, he found the right tactic. They won the World Cup, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. For picking the right players as well, leaving home the bad ones, if you want, the ones with the bad attitude, and keeping the ones who maybe
a bit
not as
humble pie, I
talented
think.
as the other one left at home. But you know, so yeah, I give him a lot of credit, and he got it right, and I got it wrong, I guess. But I'm glad I got it wrong. That's the thing. I'm glad I got it wrong.
Will he stay, Jules?
He's contract until 2020. He said after the final that he was going to stay. I think he knows he has a special team with him, and I think he knows that there's a lot of chances that this squad is going to, you know, has the potential to win in 2 years, maybe in 4 years. So I wouldn't be surprised if he even tries to stay another 2 years after that to the next World Cup.
Final question. What was your Russia 2018 World Cup best moment? I go for Dan celebrating the Trippier goal.
That was a good moment all round, wasn't it? Look at this.
There we
go.
It's our producer Pete's tea. Like, obviously gets the brunt of this.
There it comes. Hey!
Didn't know he had tea, Brian.
Your peripheral vision couldn't have been a midfielder, huh?
You are...
He is right next to you, you know
Yeah,
that.
I didn't know he had tea there. It was
He is sitting next to him with a cup in his hand.
That's right.
And I'll grab it and shake him.
Oh, we just showing again, right? Right.
It's my face next to him. Oh, it's coming my direction. Look,
Look at Robert. England score.
He has a bigger reaction when the cup of tea goes in the air than when England
no
scores.
emotion.
no emotion.
No emotion. I'm proud of it.
I'm just watching the game.
What? You're not.
Why did the goal happen?
You know,
He's a fan. I'm a pundit.
you've got yob in you. You're a little yob.
Yob. I've seen that
He's a
yob
yob.
attitude
Yes.
on many occasions.
No.
He tries to package himself as this little
If
innocent
you come out of
boy.
Cornwall
Oh,
and
I'm
you've
from
had success,
Cornwall.
that's when they become
I lived this
yobs.
sheltered life growing up. I'm an England fan. I wear my heart on my sleeve. You're a yob.
I'm a yob.
You're a
Shaq
yob.
Hislop, eh?
Hooligan.
There you go.
Yep.
For non-English.
Can I take this favourite moment?
Yeah, sure.
That's why.
Oh, God, how good
That's
was that?
why it was fantastic.
How
It's
good
got to
was
be the
that?
best moment.
I can find saying that penalty for Russia and that kind of explosion emotion is an image I think kind of summed up the World Cup, especially from a Russia perspective.
Brian, your favourite moment? Geiger getting the calls right.
Oh my God.
USA, USA.
I'm gonna stay quiet on that one.
Oh, come on, Brian.
No,
Don't sit on the fence, Brian. Come on.
There was.
Should we go to Robbo? You can have a little thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
My best moment was when Neymar got stamped on and he rolled around. You know that because that just proved what a baby he is. Because you know I don't like Neymar.
Wow, wow. Jules, your favourite moment? I imagine maybe, I don't know,
It's still going on.
France winning the World Cup.
It's still going on, his favourite moment. He's making the most of it.
Yeah, still going on, Shaka. I love Gab Marcotti's fishing jacket. I don't know if you've
Yes,
seen it.
yeah.
He goes to the games in a sort of fishing coat.
It's got
And I was like,
pockets
wow, he loves
everywhere.
the pockets everywhere.
Yeah, including
Yeah,
one in the
that's
back.
pretty special.
Completely unnecessary.
You would never say Gab has got
That
style.
he can't
would you?
even reach himself. He can't even reach himself. But,
An Italian with no style.
Pavard's goal.
It's hard to believe.
Pavard's goal against
goal.
Argentina.
Yeah,
Andrea, that was good. That was
Very
Yeah,
good.
and Batshuayi, I agree with you, Dan. Batshuayi.
First of all, I enjoyed the whole World Cup. It was great.
Geiger?
But for me, and this is more of a personal side.
Oh, no.
Yes. let me get-
USA not getting
No,
it.
It's gonna be-
my youngest daughter, who is 9, has fallen in love with this World Cup. She's actually, because, it's just the ability to text me. So she'll text me, like, what's going on? Oh my gosh, they scored. So when we both picked France to win it from the very beginning.
All right.
And so when
Mention
France won, she texts me.
Yeah.
You always take it back to the fan. It's lovely.
How are we supposed to make fun of that?
She's only just started texting at night.
I just like the way Brian goes, well, she can text you.
She's 9 years old.
This is
all
a
this
Tuesday.
Fucking emoji out of nowhere, like a celebration.
Most kids are doing it at 5
She's
now.
got the facility. She's got the
There's
facility
this
to
new
text me.
technology called texting, which is very exciting. Right, that is it. We're going to have dinner tonight, Robbo. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
He'll tell you a story about Maserati again.
Right. We'll be back tomorrow. What's on tomorrow? Who knows?
What? No. Another show.
Another show.
Another day, another show.
I'm not going to be here. There's the yob. Come on.
I mean, none of it.
Hey, get in there.
Look at his eyes. Look at the eyes. Look.
Wait for it.
Pete's.
Hey!
You don't even look happy. That's the concerning bit. You're not smiling. You're just kind of grimacing, shaking people.
Come say your Maserati. ESPN FC is back tomorrow. You are. Oh, Shaka is off on vacation for 5 days.
I am away for work. I am away for work.
FIFA.
I am for ESPN work.
FIFA.
I am away for ESPN
Dodgy
work.
meeting somewhere.
ESPN work. But you can get on. I'll finish off the program.
Networking.
You can see all these guys every day, the same time, the same channel.
It's extra time.
Okay.